You know, I really don't, like I said, I don't remember how he got hooked up actually initially, but he wanted to have me do a diet for him and have me start writing for Elite. I think he might have saw one of my articles for someone else maybe, but we got hooked up. We started doing a diet together, and I did the carb cycling, calorie cycling approach with him, and he responded really well to it. I mean, he maintained his size really well. I think at the end he was still in the mid 240s. We started off basically with well, he was pretty heavy to begin with. I don't remember what he weighed, but he was powerlifter shape, not bodybuilding shape. So we started out, just a basic, I think 1 high day a week, 3 medium, 3 lows, and we did that for a while. But then he started getting pretty lean pretty quick, and once he got pretty lean, because he carried so much size, I mean, 245 pounds in pretty much contest shape, you can start doing some pretty fun things. And so we really got to do some interesting things with Dave. I mean, you know, it's interesting. It's fun to work with any competitor, but when you get someone, I really enjoy working with the larger male competitors with a lot of muscle mass, because that's when you get to pull out all the bags of tricks. And one of the things, and I was actually just talking with Dave earlier today about it, we would throw in mega high carb days with him and try to do 1,200 grams of carbs, where 600 grams of those came from sugary carbs. So he would do an entire box of Fruity Pebbles, you know, spread out over 2 meals, or all kinds of Cocoa Pebbles, or he would do Pop-Tarts, or basically any really low-fat carb source. And so he'd get to eat 600 grams of sugar, which is funny because it sounds like, oh, that's amazing, that's great, but it's really, it becomes a job all over again. You know, you're eating, you know, 200 grams of carbs in a meal. That's not, and when 100 grams of it comes from rice, so you're eating 2 cups of white rice and your chicken before you even get to the fun stuff. And then, I mean, that's a lot of food volume, but then to eat another 100 grams of carbs, I mean, that's 3 bowls of cereal all over again. And you know, you don't think about it, when you're eating a bowl of cereal for breakfast, you eat it, that's it. But when you're eating 3 bowls of Fruity Pebbles every couple hours, you know, the roof of your mouth is cut up and bleeding, and you know, the gas, you're bloated, you know, there's no way you're going on a date with your wife or anything. But yeah, we got to do some pretty extreme things with him. We did some really, really low carb days, high protein, moderate fat, and then intertwined with the extremely high carb days, which was a lot of fun. And I think at the end, I mean, I really wanted him to do a bodybuilding contest. I know he's a powerlifter, and powerlifters don't like to do bodybuilding contests, but he was in the mid 240s, and he was contest ready. Not really. It was just, like I said, it was. Well, the thing is, when you're eating 1,200 grams of carbohydrates, your insulin levels are spiked all day. It doesn't, at that point, insulin spiked, you know, so whether you're eating a complex carb or a sugary carb, you're eating 1,200 grams of it, insulin's sky high all day. So all we cared about was avoiding fat. We really didn't even have much protein. I want to say we had maybe 20 or 30 grams of protein per meal, which is 1 scoop of a protein shake, or, you know, a couple ounces of chicken. It was really just a lot of carbohydrates. And actually, to get 1,200 grams of carbs from white rice, even if you love eating healthy, that's 4 cups of white rice. I mean, that's, you know, a huge bowl every couple hours. That's just tough to do. And so, I mean, it's something, you know, I say it, and if anyone's listening right now, they're going to think, oh, I want to do a diet with Justin. I'm going to get to eat, you know, 2 boxes of Fruity Pebbles a day. You know, part of it was Dave had a lot of muscle mass from all his years of training, so he got to do some fun things that not everyone gets to do. I think we threw a few cheat meals in with him too, and let him, you know, go out and eat 4 double cheeseburgers from McDonald's. But those were, I say he got to do those things. It wasn't like he got to do those things a lot. You know, that was to get to the point where your body can absorb 1,200 grams of carbohydrates. You've suffered by that point. By that point, you're pretty darn depleted. You've gone days without enough calories, without enough carbs. To get to the point where that's something that will actually benefit a diet, that means you are very, very depleted, and you're drained, and you've done a lot of cardio, a lot of training, and a lot of low days. And so, I mean, he earned them, but when you carry the kind of muscle mass Dave does, you get to do those fun things. We did, he gets unlimited consultation. So I said, you know, you could send 10 emails a day, but the bare minimum I needed from him was a weekly update with weekly pictures, and the pictures are the same lighting, same place, same day, same time. So if he took him the first time on a low day morning, in the living room. That's what I want every time. I want them on a low day in the morning in that living room with the same camera so we can compare them. And the other, people want to take pictures of themselves looking as good as possible, but I said, don't do that. No good lighting. You want to make yourself look as bad as possible, actually, because that's when I'll get the best idea of where you're really at. Because once you are in contest shape, you look good in any lighting. When you're sub 5% body fat, it doesn't matter where you're standing. You can see that this guy's shredded. And so he took his, he started out all hairy and pasty white, and then, once he started looking good, I think he wanted to look even better. So he, going to the tanning salon, and he's all shaved and tanned by the end. But yeah, that's what we monitored it, weekly update. He said he's kept all the emails. I want to see him sometimes because he said he emailed pretty often. I don't remember him bugging me that much, but he said he emailed just about every day. He probably did, but he had, asking things like wanting a cheat meal, wanting a high carb day, and he said that, I said, oh, you're too fat, still too fat. But that's how I have a kind of a basic minimum, I say, where I need a minimum update once a week of your hunger levels on the high, medium, low days, your appetite, your energy levels, and your training intensity levels. And then at least once a week of that with a recap for the week and those photos. But the more you ask, the more frequent updates you give me. If you give me an update every day with your energy levels and all those things, the better I can change the diet. Because sometimes even, I might not even wait till pictures. If you tell me that, you can't even finish a workout, you can't get your cardio in, you're just so depleted, then I'll know, well, rather than do that high day on Friday, let's throw it in on Wednesday. That actually kind of was because you get to that point, you make really quick progress for weeks and weeks and weeks, but you start getting towards contest shape. It can be you can go 4 weeks. I mean, when you don't have much body fat left, it's, dropping from 12% to 10% to 8% to 6% all makes big changes. But once you get below about 6%, you're not getting much lower. So you might take 2 more weeks to drop 0.5% or 4 more weeks to drop 0.5%. And we got to that point where he was near contest shape, and I wanted him to do a contest, and he didn't know when he wanted to kind of end the diet. And then finally it kind of was a struggle because you're struggling with a contest date in mind. I know I just need to make sure that everything's dialed in for this date. Without that, you need to know, well, how depleted am I going to let him get before I refill him? Am I refilling him too much? Am I going to refill him this day, and then I'm going to find out next week he wants to be done? Well, then that refill day was pointless because we wanted to fill him out for that last week. So eventually, we just decided, pick a date when you're done, and we'll do we won't do a contest, but we'll treat it like a peak week, like a final week for the contest, and take your photos and things like that. And eventually, it just kind of reached the point where I think it was as lean as he wanted, and knew that to get maybe a 0.5% leaner was going to take another month, and there was no point in that. And he was pretty much bodybuilder contest ready, and so we just finally decided on a final picture day. Great. I mean, powerlifters tend to be, in my experience, powerlifters, strongman, anyone who's done that really hard work in the gym, they're mentally tough. Well, same thing with athletes. If you work, the best people to work with are ex-wrestlers, because you could basically starve them to death, and they won't complain until they're on their deathbed. Even then they won't complain. Their wives will email you from the hospital. So, and Dave kind of had that powerlifter mentality. It's not fun. I don't like eating this way, but I'm doing it for a reason. And you don't get under a 1,000-pound squat where you could die if you mess something up in that lift without accepting it. Being mentally tough and accepting this is the way it is. I'm just going to get it done, and that's it. And he treated it that way. And I mean, I'm sure once the diet was over, he went back to eating cheese and crackers. But while he was on the diet, he didn't complain. And I love working with actual competitive athletes. The hardest people to work with are first-time competitors. But once people they have a history of playing high-level competitive sports or high-level sports in a different kind of fitness avenue, powerlifting or strongman, they're always the easiest to work with. Oh, he got great response. I mean, he looked like a 245-pound bodybuilder. He looked like a national-level competitor. I mean, you go to even the nationals or the USA's, there's not that many super heavyweights that are in shape, and he was in shape at 240 pounds. So I'm assuming it was good response for him and his website, but it was great for me. I mean, it really shot my website, my training business into the next level. I mean, up to that point, I'd worked with a lot of bodybuilders, obviously, but I never got that kind of exposure where, powerlifter who's been, over 300 pounds for, much of his adult life, now looking like a national level bodybuilder. I got a huge influx of powerlifters wanting to get in shape. And I think I don't want to say maybe I had any kind of role in that or anything, but I think if you look around if you look at what the average 275 pound, 242 pound, 308 pounder looked like in the 1990s compared to what they look like now, you know, you can't tell a 242 pound powerlifter from a bodybuilder anymore. I mean, I think I don't know if I played any role, and if I did, how much of a role I played. But I mean, I think if you see what, you know, after Dave made those transformations, you know, almost 10 years ago now, I think the sport's really changed. I mean, you can go to you know, any of the powerlifting experiences, things that Elite does, and you look at the coaches there, and you can't tell the guy, you know, if we're wearing red shirts, the guy in the red shirt, is he a bodybuilder or a powerlifter? I mean, they look the same now, and I think you know, Dave showed how important nutrition can play. And you take a guy, I mean, I'm sure Dave was just as strong at 245 pounds as he was at 308 pounds. Well, now at 245 pounds with that same 308 strength, he can compete in the 242 pound weight class. You know, and I think that's, you see, also if you look at the world record numbers, how much they've shot up in the 220, 242, 275 pound weight class, where it used to be, you know, the 308s and super heavies had the big numbers. You got to 220 and the numbers were respectable, but, you know, now those 242, 220 pound numbers are enormous. They're just as high as you know, what the 308s were 10 years ago.